right, it is 1:20 Central Time, so that is our start time. Welcome to Marketing Done Right, increasing conversion and return on investment. Your marketing should pay for itself. Just a couple administrative notes as we start off. Welcome, Kristen. A couple notes as we start off. One, I would recommend that you maximize your screen so you can see the full presentation. Also, there are a couple different tabs that you'll see: chat, polls, people, and Q&A. If this is your first time using Hopin, and I'm relatively new to the platform as well, the chat is going to be for responses to questions that I pose. So please just keep an eye on that. And then if you have questions for me that we'll cover in the Q&A section at the end, that's going to be in the Q&A section right next to people. So chat is for responding to questions that I have and I'll pose to you throughout the workshop. And then the Q&A section is really for any questions that you have for me that I can return to at the end of the workshop. So let's jump right in. Today's workshop, as I've said, is Marketing Done Right, increasing conversion and return on investment, how in the digital age your marketing should pay for itself. This presentation is brought to you by the Hubspot for Startups program. We are a global program that partners with awesome organizations like BetaMN to provide self-help tools and resources for entrepreneurs, such as the HubSpot Academy, an entire library of tutorials and certifications for marketing, sales, service, and CRM. We do also provide tailored programming like the workshop we're going to go through today. And through our partnership with BetaMN and other organizations, startups can access up to a 90% discount on our best-in-class tools for marketing, sales, service, and CRM. A quick introduction to me. My name's Jack. I'm a third-year HubSpotter. My professional career actually started in political campaigns. So organizations that had to scale from sometimes as few as 2 people in a room all the way up to citywide, district-wide, statewide organizations, all in a matter of weeks. And I was hired by HubSpot as part of an experimental team that was install-based selling only. And full disclosure, that experiment did not work out. And so we were absorbed into the general sales team where I was a mid-market rep for 2.5 years. And just recently got the chance to move back to the Midwest and head our Midwestern partnerships for HubSpot for Startups. So I'm out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I'm one of those lucky folks who just loves their job, waking up every day, working with startups and entrepreneurs, specifically in Middle America. Our agenda today is pretty straightforward. We're going to be going through a little bit of an introduction to the folks in this room. We're also going to be talking about inbound marketing, why inbound marketing is important. It's going to brief recap. And then we'll really quickly dive into the details. Who should you be targeting with your inbound marketing? How do you create buyer personas? Where do you find those personas? Once you know who they are, what are the channels you choose to deliver your content over so that you make sure they're being found by the folks who are going to find it most valuable? And then also, what action do you want your personas to take once they find your content? What are the conversion strategies you can use in your day-to-day marketing to help increase conversions over your content marketing? And then we're going to dive into a couple common mistakes that even sophisticated marketers make and how we can avoid them as we go to market. That's going to be a really fun part of the workshop. We're just going to really dive into what happens when you miss that last crucial point of conversion. And then finally, we're going to talk about return on investment. What are the reports that you should be looking for to see success or sometimes a lack of it in your conversion strategy? What are the consequences of a well-planned conversion path? And then we'll get to a Q&A at the end. Now I want to turn your attention to the chat, though, because I do have a couple questions that I just love the folks in the room to answer. Starting with, do you have a dedicated marketer on your team? Just throw yes or no in the chat for me. It'd be really helpful. Carla says no. Thank you, Carla. Okay. No dedicated marketer on your team. Solopreneur from Kristen. Really appreciate that, Kristen. Does anybody have a dedicated marketer? Okay, looks like no's across the board. Okay, so a lot of folks executing on marketing on your own. That's fantastic to know. Thanks a lot for that context. On a scale of 1 to 5, still in the chat, I'd love for you to put how familiar are you with inbound? When I say inbound marketing, on a scale of 1 to 5, how familiar are you? 0 is a perfectly acceptable answer, 5 is fantastic, but we'd just love to know how familiar do you think you are with inbound? 2, okay, super helpful. Kristen, 1. All right, so a little bit new to the concept. Carrie, 0. Love the honesty there. Really appreciate it. Jake, okay. Lots of, okay, 0 to 2. Love it. Okay, fantastic. Thanks a lot for the honesty and the vulnerability, guys. We'll definitely cover it. No worries. Out of curiosity, have you published content online already? And once again, a yes or no in the chat, whether it's on social media, a blog. Okay, Lynn, David, yes. Carrie, on your blog, fantastic. Close, but no. Jake, almost ready to publish. Okay, fantastic. Got it. So this is really helpful. So you're a little bit familiar with inbound, but you are creating content. This is really helpful. Um, Last question here. Have you already created a buyer persona or a profile of your customer? Maybe more than one. Are you familiar with a buyer persona? If you haven't created, not really. Okay. Carrie, not really, but yes. Okay, fair enough. Carly, yes. Okay, so everyone's familiar with these basic concepts. That's really helpful. Okay, so we don't have to meditate on it too much. So then let's just kind of, from a 40,000 foot perspective, talk about what inbound marketing is. Inbound marketing is a go to market philosophy that embraces the shift in power from businesses to consumers. And what do we mean by that? Well, 47% of buyers are viewing 3 to 5 pieces of content prior to engaging with a sales rep. 70% of people say they'd rather learn about new products through content than over traditional advertising or through a sales rep. So, all this is to say that in a world where we are constantly researching solutions and products before we purchase them, if you are not creating content that attracts the personas that you're trying to solve for or market to, you are missing out on well over half your market opportunity. So, content creation, content marketing, and inbound philosophy is absolutely crucial for success in the modern age. So that begs that first question. If you're going to create content, how do you find out who you're going to create that content for? Persona development is just incredibly important. And if you haven't created a persona just yet, I'd encourage you to get as detailed as possible when you think about who it is that you're targeting. How old are they? What's their job role? What's their experience? What are their challenges and what keeps them up at night? Every detail that you think could be relevant should be thought about, anticipated, written down. One tool to help you do that is this persona profile checklist. Now, in the interest of time, we're not going to go over every bullet point on this list. It could be provided in slides after the session, so you can use this on your own. But this is HubSpot's internal checklist for creating our own personas. And you can use it to audit the personas you've already made or to create a new one. But I do want to just highlight a few points here. Job role, yes. Title, what skills are required? Who do they report to? And who reports to them? Especially in a classic B2B marketing strategy, it's important to know that your persona is going to have to sell internally, sometimes upwards, sometimes downwards, sometimes laterally. What are they responsible for? Are they directly responsible for the solution you're providing? And what does success in the role look like? What are the challenges that keep them up at night? In short, what's the emotional state of your persona when they are interacting with your content? Now, we're going to go through a couple quick examples of personas, and this is HubSpot's original buyer persona, Marketing Mary. And you can tell exactly how dated this slide is because there's a BlackBerry right next to her name. Now, when HubSpot first started out, the concept of inbound was not widely known. And so our persona needed to account for the fact that Marketing Mary, who we were marketing to, didn't really understand the solution that we were solving for. She was a well-versed marketer. She knows everything there is to know about outbound marketing. She's been doing it for 15 plus years. But in terms of her own usage of the internet, she was using Hotmail, not Gmail. She was probably using the internet by and large to share photos of her kids or to keep in touch with friends, but she was still pretty skeptical about the internet's use as a marketing tool 15, 20 years ago. That means that Marketing Mary needs a highly educational marketing experience. We need to we really need to start from the ground up. But at the end of the day, we need to provide Marketing Mary with tools that didn't just express the value of digital marketing. We also needed to create marketing content that assured her that at the end of the day, she was going to be able to express the ROI of her marketing efforts to her boss. And that was really the emotional state that Marketing Mary was in. Knowledgeable in her field, skeptical of our solution. Now let's fast forward because your personas are going to evolve. And today, Marketing Mary is now Marketing Michelle. We don't need to start from scratch with Marketing Michelle. She is the VP of Marketing at 26 to 200 person scale up, and she knows everything there is to know about inbound marketing. She's very different from Marketing Mary in that she understands the problem and the solution that HubSpot is trying to address. What's different is that because Marketing Michelle is already familiar with inbound and has experience using inbound as part of her strategy, she's not skeptical of the problem we're trying to solve for. She's skeptical of our tools. She needs to know that our tools are valuable. She's been burned by our competitors, and that's Marketing Michelle's emotional state when she interacts with our content. Now, as your personas evolve, as your businesses grow and expand and scale, you're going to actually discover that certain buyer personas unlock additional personas that might want to buy the same products, but need to be marketed to very differently. And that's where we get to Growth Gary. Growth Gary might actually look like a lot of people in this room right now. He's head of growth at a less than 25 person startup. He gives off power user vibes and really loves providing feedback to vendors. Here's the thing. Growth Gary doesn't want to talk to a salesperson. He doesn't want a hands-on sales process. He wants self-help tools that allow him to purchase our product easily, as long as he can cancel easily. So we have 3 different very emotional states that we're marketing to. Initially, it was Marketing Mary, who was skeptical of our solution, really needed to be educated. Marketing Michelle, who wasn't skeptical at all of the problems that we were trying to solve, but was skeptical of our tools and needs a lot of hand-holding and educational material around the tools themselves. And then we have Growth Gary, who doesn't really want to be pandered to. He wants a manual and he wants to get in there and get it done. So I'd love in the chat for you to tell me just a little about your personas. Are you direct to consumer? If so, are you selling to parents, millennials, boomers? If you're B2B, what's the title of the person that your marketing content is going to need to target? I know a couple people earlier had said they had created a persona. Was there a job title attached to that persona? If you're direct to consumer, feel free just to put B2C in the chat and tell me a little bit about your ideal customer. B2C, health conscious consumers, various ages. Thanks a lot, Jake. Kristen, B2B, school districts. Tough crowd. Yeah, lots of bureaucracy as well. Okay, super helpful. Thanks a lot for that feedback, guys. Yeah, and the buying process there, right? Health conscious consumers versus school districts, 2 very different folks to market to, folks to sell to. Your marketing should take those buying processes into account, obviously. All right, so we talked through personas, and now we're going to talk through channels. We know the who. Now we need to figure out the where. Where are your prospects going to find your marketing content? Now, this is a debate as old as content marketing online, SEO versus pay-per-click. Do you invest the time, the treasure, the energy in search engine optimization creating content? Or do you try and go the quick and easy route with pay-per-click? So let's dig into a few facts here. And just full disclosure, all of my facts are going to come from the Ultimate List of Marketing Statistics for 2021. This is a publicly facing page that HubSpot pulls together every single year. There is a lot here if you want to dig through it, but I like transparency. So as I'm rattling off facts, I just want to let you know where those are coming from. So 70% of marketers say SEO is better than pay-per-click for generating sales. 70% of marketers see the value in the long-term value in search engine optimization. SEO also generates 1,000% more traffic than social media. Now, as we think about direct-to-consumer, though, 65% of all e-commerce traffic is generated via search, but 33% is organic and 32% is paid. And you're right, Kristen, pay-per-click is now more challenging with Apple's new privacy policy. That's absolutely true. Pay-per-click can also be executed over tools that help you target, though. We can get to that in the Q&A if you're curious. So when we think about this context, 70% of marketers prefer SEO for generating sales. SEO is 1,000% more effective than social, and 65% of all e-commerce traffic is generated by search, relatively split evenly between pay-per-click and organic. The reality is that this needs to be a balance. And we're talking about two fundamentally different strategies. Pay-per-click can have an immediate impact, but it requires continuous budget and it's highly transactional. So I like to say is it's a switch you can flip. You can turn the money on anytime you want, but you got to keep feeding it. And the minute you turn it off, you're going to stop seeing results. Now, this is different than search engine optimization. SEO can have a long-term impact when done right. And when you start creating evergreen content, you can start positioning yourself as a thought leader. I don't know if anybody is a huge fan of Great British Bake Off here, but I'm a huge fan of that show. If you haven't checked it out, please do. It's really fun. It's really wholesome television. And I like to say that if pay-per-click is a switch that you can flip on and off, SEO is a cake that you bake. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes the right ingredients. But if you do it well and you iterate, you will establish something with permanent value that keeps your personas coming back to you over and over again as a thought leader in your industry. So it needs to be balanced. So that's one channel, pay-per-click versus SEO. Now let's think about social media. Social media is not a yes or no answer. Different platforms provide different value, different audiences. And so not all social media is created equal. If you are direct to consumer, you're probably not thinking much about advertising over LinkedIn. At the same time, if you are a B2B SaaS solution, or for example, you're selling to school districts, you're not going to be advertising over Facebook or Twitter necessarily. Weirdly, though, there are social media platforms that really do cut across business models. And I've seen B2B and direct to consumer businesses advertising on Pinterest, advertising on Instagram incredibly effectively. So let's think about some social media facts. You've got hundreds of millions of users on each platform. Facebook at 190 million, Snapchat on 46 million, but there are trends across these platforms. For example, Instagram is growing and already has the second highest return on investment of any social media platform for marketers generally. And the percentage of marketers using Snapchat is actually shrinking. So where you're spending your time and treasure in terms of social media, it's important to think about which platforms are going to give you the most bang for your buck, which are more appropriate for the persona audiences you're targeting. The use of social media has also changed, though. Instagram and Pinterest are really great for brand awareness, but Facebook Messenger is increasingly being used as a form of customer support. So much so that Facebook Messenger is now a free tool on HubSpot's CRM, as well as other tools, because it's now table stakes for servicing customers. It's no longer a nice to have. So the key questions for social media are who and where. What platforms are going to give you access to the personas that you are targeting? But also, what's the purpose of your interaction with that social media? Is it just purely about lead generation? Is it about brand awareness? Or is it about customer support? What stage is your persona at when you're targeting them over social media? And this may seem a little bit obvious to folks, but it's definitely something that a lot of marketers that I've worked with struggle with, which is mobile optimization. As of 2019, mobile devices, excluding tablets, generated about half of all website traffic. That means that if you include tablets, more than 50% of all the traffic interacting with your content is probably going to be over a mobile device. If you're direct to consumer, this is even more stark. 59% of shoppers say that being able to shop via mobile is important when they're making a purchasing decision. That said, the type of content that you're publishing is also an important indicator of where people might be interacting with it. 83% of traffic to marketing blogs comes from desktops. There are a lot of tools that can make optimization easy, but it's also an easy step to miss. So I'd really encourage you to make sure that you're doing a serious audit of all of your content to make sure that it's optimized for mobile. So let's talk about the meat and potatoes of this workshop. We know the who, we know the where. Now we need the what. What actions actually convert folks once they find your content? What are the strategies you can use to convert? Well, let's think about really basic conversion strategy. Where's that conversion going to take place? Landing pages, which are the least used option, actually have the highest conversion rate, but the speed with which your page loads is absolutely paramount. The first 5 seconds are absolutely crucial. And for every additional second it takes your page to load, your conversion rate will drop by 4.5% for each additional second. So speed is crucial. Pop-up forms, the most popular form of conversion, actually have the lowest conversion rate, only 4%. But having said that, we're going to get into a couple examples where pop-up forms do really make sense as a conversion strategy. So let's take an example that is a rock star example of a content conversion strategy. This is Yo. Yo is a global staffing company, and they are rock stars when it comes to content conversion strategy. You see, they have webinars, white papers, ebooks, and this form is just a click away when you interact with their content. Now, one of the things to bear in mind is that every time I go back to Yo's website, if I re-engage with their content, they're using progressive form fields to meet me with a different form every time I click download or register for a webinar. Now, what does that mean? It means that when Jack comes back to Yo's website, and I've already filled out first name, last name, work email, and company name, but I want to download a different ebook, it doesn't ask me those same questions. It recognizes who I am, and it populates different questions so they can continue to qualify me as a contact, as a prospect, as a lead, rather than simply asking me for the exact same information they already have. One of the baked-in principles of a content strategy is that your personas are going to interact with your content over and over again. Take advantage of each conversion and implement progressive form fields. HubSpot can do this for you. There are other tools, full transparency, that can do this for you. It's important if you're creating content to get the most out of it. Now, having denigrated pop-up forms, I can say that if you are a direct-to-consumer e-commerce business, a pop-up form offering a discount for a quick conversion is table stakes right now, and you really shouldn't leave it off the table. I use Shady Rays as an example because, in all honesty, I hate buying sunglasses. I get my sunglasses for free. I like to sit on them a lot. but I decided that I was going to spend a little bit of money and buy myself a decent pair of sunglasses. And I went to Shady Ray's website and immediately 20% off for just my email address. What a no-brainer. It was a free hard case. All I had to do was give them my email. These short transactional conversions can be incredibly helpful, especially for transactional business models like e-commerce. And this is a 10% offer from a website called UGears, which is pretty cool. One of the things that I always touch on when we think about conversion strategy is live chat and chatbots. Now, based on the feedback that we got from the room earlier, it sounds like a lot of you are solopreneurs, maybe have really small teams, and I can personally attest to the absolute nightmare that live chat is to manage as a small team. That said, chatbots are only getting more sophisticated, and consumers, whether they're looking for a B2B SaaS solution or a direct-to-consumer product, are only getting more comfortable using chat to, from our perspective as business owners, qualify and disqualify themselves for purchase. A chat is a really easy way to deliver this form in a conversational way that allows your prospects to qualify and disqualify themselves for you, which is really helpful. So we've gone through the full customer journey here. We've talked about channels, where you're going to find your personas. We've gone through content, what's your strategy for finding those folks and how you're going to lure them in, and then also conversion. What are the tools you're going to use to convert once your personas actually find your content? So let's talk about what happens when really sophisticated marketers miss a step. Because I know marketers who get understandably really bogged down in the creation of content because it's really important. But they get so bogged down in branding and content creation, they miss that last crucial step of conversion, of making sure that your marketing that you've put time and treasure in pays for itself the way it should. Because let's face it, in a modern age, the phrase, I'm wasting half my marketing budget, but I don't know which half, there's just no excuse for it when it comes to digital marketing. There are too many tools out there to tell you what's paying off and what's not. In the startup world, this is probably the conversion mistake that I see most often, is amazing social media content that completely fails to include a call to action. This specific screenshot is from a B2B SaaS company that has a great tool, and they actually produce really amazing videos. This is probably their least well-produced video on their Facebook page. And they've actually gone coast to coast, getting restaurateurs from New York, Miami, Milwaukee, San Diego, to actually give testimonials about how great their product is, and they're really well-produced videos. But guess what happens when you go to their Facebook page and you click on one of these amazing videos? Absolutely nothing. There is no way to give them an email to express interest in their product, to purchase it, download their app. There's simply no way to do it. And so all this amazing content has zero expressible ROI because there's no conversion path to direct folks even towards their website or to tell you the percentage of folks converting versus just simply watching the video. This is another example of an absolutely amazing marketer. If you're interested in search engine optimization as a strategy, you can't do better than this pillar page. This is a classic textbook pillar page and has an Alexa rank of 724,000. Now, if you're not familiar, that's all right. Alexa rank is actually the ranking of your website against all the other websites on the internet by traffic volume. So the lower the number, the better you're doing. If you are below 8 million on your Alexa rank, it means that you're getting really decent traffic and you're probably doing all right, frankly. If your Alexa rank is below 5 million, it means that you're doing a couple things really well and you're in basically the top 3% of all websites on the internet. If your Alexa rank is below 1 million, like this web page is, it means you are doing several things very well, on purpose, and over time. You have to, in order to achieve this Alexa rank, it takes a lot of effort. Here's the issue, though. Where's the call to action? Where's the conversion strategy above the fold? And I actually was able to get, so this is an example from my days in sales with HubSpot. I was actually able to get the CEO of his company on the phone. I said, your marketing's amazing. But out of curiosity, is conversion an issue at all? He goes, yeah, it's an absolute nightmare. No wonder. These guys have podcasts. They have amazing content, but there's no place to convert. Now let's look at an opposite example. And obviously, I'm going to use HubSpot. Also an amazing Alexa rank. But look at the calls to action. Consistent, above the fold, clear and easy. And I even have a chatbot over here in the corner. The only real difference between this page and HubSpot's page is that we have a clear conversion strategy, easily accessible to our prospects, above the fold on our website. So now that we're thinking about the whole conversion strategy, the whole buyer's journey, I'd love to talk about the different reporting that you can use along every single stage to tell you where the gaps in your conversion strategy might be. And the common language for this reporting is tofu, mofu, and bofu, which are really funny names. But what this means is top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. Top of the funnel is the awareness stage. It's building awareness about you and your solution and the problem that you're solving. The middle of your funnel is the consideration stage, teaching people how to choose your solution, how to solve for the problem that you're solving for. And the bottom of the funnel is the decision stage. When someone's ready to purchase, how do you explain why the product you offer is the best solution in your space or the best product in your space? And there are a couple different reports that we're going to talk through. Top of the funnel is traffic across your different channels. Middle of the funnel, conversion rate and contacts worked. And then bottom of the funnel, holistic campaign reporting. Understanding that you're not going to choose one channel, you're going to choose multiple. How do you report across all those channels to understand where your ROI is actually coming from? So let's look at a couple of these. Traffic analytics, right? How much of the traffic to your website is coming from paid search versus organic search? Referrals versus your email marketing, or simply direct traffic? Understanding where your traffic is coming from is going to be crucial to understanding what's working. So this is a classic top of the funnel report. Now let's think about a couple ways to approach middle of the funnel. It's important to understand your marketing performance over time. How many sessions in the last month? How many new contacts were created from your marketing? And how many of those are now customers? How about new contacts by source? Offline sources, so what would you upload versus paid search, organic search? Where are your contacts, your conversions actually coming from? Break it down by top emails or top landing page submissions. Which landing pages that you're creating are actually converting the most? And then what happens once you've actually converted those contacts? Maybe you've labeled them as leads, but how many of those are then marketing qualified leads? How many of them are actually moving through your funnel? And how many of them are actually becoming customers? We think about it in terms of contacts created, maybe contacts assigned. If you're in a small team, maybe this is less relevant, but contacts worked is going to be relevant no matter how big your team is. How many of those conversions are you actually paying attention to? And of those contacts, how many are attached to deals created and closed won? Closed won. Let's meditate for a second on that bottom of the funnel. Because as I said previously, you're not going to use a single channel to get to closed won. You're going to be using multiple. So how do you measure the success of campaigns easily across all those different avenues? And that's where campaign reporting comes in. You should be able to easily add digital ad campaigns, blog posts, calls to action on your website, emails, landing pages, social posts, all to an inclusive report that gives you not just sessions, not just new contacts, but also influenced contacts. How many of the folks you're marketing to, how many of your personas are coming back and interacting with your content repeatedly over and over again? And of course, as we've said, you should be able to tie that back to revenue at the end of the day. Understanding in aggregate how much a single marketing campaign has actually created in new business, new revenue for your company. And also individually within that campaign, what was working best? Was it your social posts? Well, this one, not really. Was it the calls to action on your website? Yeah, it turns out blog posts and calls to action for this particular campaign were really, really important. Getting this holistic view is really important to confirming the ROI. It is absolutely crucial to lay out your conversion path for your customer to make sure you're paying attention not just to the content, but also the actions you want your persona to take. But holding yourself accountable, holding your marketing accountable to an ROI is incredibly important, especially in digital age. And in the digital age, there's not really an excuse for not going out and finding the tools that can tell you this answer because they're out there. So we've gone through some reporting. There is an enormous amount of data out there on marketing. So I just want to call out that finding that holistic reporting solution, understanding the single source of truth on what your ROI is, can be difficult to suss out, especially with disconnected tools, but it is possible and it's crucial to pivoting within your marketing strategy. Because I think everyone knows that you don't create one piece of content and then never change it, and that's your marketing forever. Marketing is an evolution. It's an amalgamation of iterations. You're going to change it over and over again. Understanding what's working and what's not will help you determine how to change it. And that's really about understanding your full customer journey. So let's get into the questions and answers. This is the Q&A portion. We have about 15, 20 minutes left in our session. So, Kristen, can you share some common examples of CTAs? I think that, the CTA can be different depending on the business model. And the part that we didn't really cover in this workshop is the why. We talked about who, we talked about where, we talked about how. What about why? I was sitting down with a startup maybe 2 weeks ago, and they had the call to action, the fill out your email above the fold on their website. It was pretty clearly marked. It was clear what their solution was, but their only CTA was submit your email here. And they weren't seeing any conversions. I just asked them, why would I give you my email from this landing page? What's the incentive? And so I think the CTA, it really depends on a little bit about the conversion strategy and a little bit about your business. So if you're direct to consumer, get 10% off, give me your email. Pretty easy, right? This is what your incentive is. This is what I need. This is what you get. If you're more like Yo or HubSpot, where you need more of a content strategy, a little bit more complicated conversion, it can be something like download this webinar, get an easy quote. Talk to sales is an easy call to action. It might work for your business, or it could be something along the lines of get a free demo. So the calls to action are going to be variable depending on your business. There's no single call to action that's a silver bullet for everybody. And then these progress forms are between user and content, right? So progressive form fields require a tool that can recognize a repeat visitor to your website and understand the data that's already in your CRM. There are other tools out there that do this. HubSpot is one of them. But the trick is, if I come to your website, Kristen, and I convert, and I give you my first name, my last name, and my email, the next time I come to your website, your form tool should actually be able to recognize me and populate the next 3 most important questions for you qualifying a lead. So it is an interaction between your website, the visitor to your website, but also your back-end data recognizing that repeat visitor. In HubSpot's case, it's a mixture of cookies and email address that they would that we would use to spot that repeat visitor. I'd love for other folks to throw any other questions in the chat. I got 2 from Kristen in the Q&A. I really appreciate that. Do you have questions about your own conversion strategy? Do you have questions about channels? Which social media platforms to use, or whether or not SEO is the right fit for your business, or pay-per-click? Yeah, would just love any questions about conversion. For those of you that joined a little bit late, we kind of walked through persona development and how your personas actually will evolve over time. We talked through different channels like pay-per-click, different social media strategies, SEO, how pay-per-click is really a switch that you flip, and SEO is really a cake that you bake. It requires time and the right ingredients. We also talked about a couple examples of businesses that rock their content but fail at the conversion. So pardon me, social posts without calls to action embedded within them. Also, really classic, amazing examples of pillar pages that have a really low Alexa rank, but still fail to put conversion paths above the fold on their website. Anybody have a specific question they want to throw in the chat or in the Q&A about your conversion strategy? We haven't really talked about email marketing. Is that a concern for folks in the group? Okay, we will leave the Q&A session open. So if you have questions that occur to you, please don't hesitate. But I also just want to take this moment to say that this has been brought to you by Hubspot for Startups. We are a global program that helps entrepreneurs, founders, and startups all around the world grow better through educational resources you can access on your own, such as the HubSpot Academy. Just Google HubSpot Academy. We provide tailored programming like this workshop through partners like BetaMN. And through those same partners, you can access discounting of up to 90% on the HubSpot tools for marketing, sales, service, and CRM. Once again, those discounts can go up to 90% if you are a seed stage startup, 50% if you're Series A. You can apply at hubspot.com/startups. And if you are interested in becoming a partner with the HubSpot for Startups program, if you are associated with a venture capital firm, an accelerator, an incubator, or a co-working space that you think would find value in these workshops and also the discounting on our tools, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email is right here. You can find me really easily on LinkedIn. I think I might actually be the only Jack Ekblad, in all honesty, which is kind of funny. And then my phone number, if you're more comfortable with phone, is 857-209-9087. So Kristen has another question. So the progressive forms are between user and content. That's true, but it's also incomplete. Progressive forms, if you think about a landing page, so let's go back to the example of Yo with that form where it's first name, last name, and email. Progressive forms require the tool that you're using to create that form to recognize repeat visitors to your website. So HubSpot's website will recognize if you are already a customer, already a lead, or a net new visitor. And we're going to ask you for different information depending on the information that we already have in our CRM. So if HubSpot already has Kristen Daniels' first name, last name, email, and job title, the next time you want to download an ebook or sign up for a webinar, we're going to ask you for the size of your company, your marketing budget, or any other qualifying points of data that would be valuable to us, instead of simply asking you for the same information that our CRM already has stored in the backend. Is there a specific social media forum that has the most success? That really is dependent upon your business model, Katie. I have seen both B2B and B2C business models find a lot of success on Instagram. I've also seen a lot of businesses waste money, frankly, on LinkedIn ads that are really expensive. I can tell you that there was a point where HubSpot turned off our LinkedIn advertising because we just were not seeing the ROI from it. That said, we don't often advertise on Facebook either because it's just not usual that someone's looking for a CRM on Facebook. Now we do Facebook advertising, but it's not a huge part of our budget. Dylan Crosby, looks like you had a comment following Katie's. Did you have a specific question that I can answer, or were you just reacting to the Katie's comment on social media? Yeah, you're welcome, Katie. Oh, email marketing tips. Absolutely. Okay. Thanks a lot, Dylan. Really, I hope I'm not butchering your name. My apologies if I am. Few knowledge bombs. I'd love to hear them. Oh, Dylan, awesome, fantastic. Uh, in terms of email marketing, once again, it's going to sound a little bit obvious. I would be really brutally honest about who you're email marketing because you could be really wasting your time. I was on the phone with a startup during office hours the other week, and this person was a HubSpot customer. They were targeting a bunch of undergrad students from Carnegie Mellon University because they were part of Venture Bridge, which is a CMU program. And they got an enormous amount of unsubscribes. And because HubSpot is really strict about how you use our email marketing tool, because we do need to comply with GDPR because we are a global company, they actually got their email turned off, which is, as you can imagine, a pretty painful experience. Now, they were really gracious about it, but they were like, what happens? How can I avoid this in the future? And I just asked them a really honest question. Are undergraduates from Carnegie Mellon University good fits to be your customers? And the answer was no. Maybe a few years down the line after they graduated, but not immediately for this person's business model. And so it's really, you should be expecting a high unsubscribe rate if you're emailing people who are by definition not a good fit for your content. So I would be really clear where that email list is coming from, whether or not you're meeting them with a spray and pray technique, in which case I'd really recommend a tool like MailChimp or something else where you can have that lower deliverability rate. Frankly, they're not going to have as high a delivery rate, but they also don't care about exactly how clean your list is. When you get into a tool like HubSpot and you embrace an inbound philosophy, you should be keeping a very clean email list and only sending that email to the folks who are going to find the most value from it. This is, in full transparency, a technique that I have used when creating my own newsletter. So we send out a HubSpot for Startups in the Midwest newsletter every month. I only do it once a month. And I don't have a single unsubscribe. It's actually one of the best performing emails that HubSpot for Startups sends out because I only send it to the folks who are going to find the most value from understanding that our network's growing in the Midwest and the different workshops that we're giving. So that would be my advice for email marketing. If you're going to spend time email marketing, make sure that you're really clear on the list that you're targeting and the content that you're delivering. You're very welcome. Just going to double check the Q&A. If you have any other questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. And then I'm just going to add a poll here really quickly to ask if you found this session helpful on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the best, 1 being the best, and 5 being the worst. I'm just going to create that poll. So you should see that poll underneath polls. Awesome. For targeting founders, what social platform would you recommend outside of LinkedIn? That's interesting. I know that I believe Slack has more open social forums now. I'd be interested to see if anybody in the room has seen any growth there. I think that's really popped up in the last year or two. Um, I also think Facebook has been really helpful. Seems like a lot of people are personally on Twitter. I think I would avoid the Snapchats of the world. In all honesty, I'm not entirely sure. TikTok is a great place to find founders, though it could be once again Instagram, the dark horse, just seems to be successful all the way around. So I would recommend those different social media tools. And we'll just leave that poll open for a little while longer. Was this helpful? Was it not helpful? Scale of 1 to 10. Donnie, you're very welcome. Thanks a lot, Kristen. We do have another 9 minutes in our program, so just want to keep the Q&A open, want to keep the chat open. We have the poll going to just let me know, scale of 1 to 5, how did I do? And once again, this session is being brought to you by the Hubspot for Startups program. We're a global program for entrepreneurs, founders, startups, and the organizations that help them grow, whether that's accelerators, incubators, venture capital firms, or networks like BetaMN. Kristen, my personal Twitter account has 4,600 plus followers, was hacked and stolen. No. Make sure to activate two-factor authentication on your account's professional identity is created with those accounts. That is absolutely a crucial tip, Kristen. Thanks so much for mentioning that. Yes, absolutely. Dual-factor authentication is absolutely crucial. Thanks a lot, Katie. Really glad you enjoyed it. Once again, this is marketing conversion and ROI. How do you make your marketing pay for itself? Brought to you by HubSpot for Startups in partnership with Beta Minnesota. And if you have any other questions about conversion, email marketing, any other marketing questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat, throw them in the Q&A. We have about 7 minutes left in our session. There is a poll open telling me how I did in this session, whether you found it helpful or not. If you could just fill that out, I'd be really appreciative. Once again, a couple of things that we've covered in today's session are how you create a persona. And we've gone through rubrics like HubSpot's persona profile checklist. We've also gone through how to use that persona to inform where you're targeting your content, whether it's social media, pay-per-click, creating content for SEO that is evergreen. And we've also gone through several conversion strategies, such as content strategies. So how do you create webinars, ebooks, and white papers, and then use progressive form fields to continue to capture information on your prospects? If you're a direct-to-consumer business model, how to use pop-up forms with transactional discount offers to capture easy conversions right away. And then also chat, how chat is an easy tool to allow your prospects to qualify and disqualify themselves. How chat bots are only getting more and more sophisticated, and consumers are only getting more and more comfortable using chat bots. We've also gone through some common mistakes that sophisticated marketers make when creating content. And a couple examples are social posts without CTAs, as well as content that fails to have a conversion strategy above the fold on the website, even when they've done a great job of gaining traffic and actually garnering the attention of their target personas. Then finally, we've gone through examples of great conversion strategies. So HubSpot's homepage being an example. And then we've also gone through different reporting you should be looking at to tell you if your marketing strategy is working. Top of the funnel traffic analytics, understanding how many leads, marketing qualified leads, and customers you're tracking, contacts that have been converted but have not been worked, and then also campaign analytics to let you know not just sessions and new contacts, but also contacts that have been influenced again by your marketing, have resulted in closed deals, and are then able to tie that directly back to a return on investment closed won revenue.